Good day, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Could you just make us aware that you can hear us loud and clear in the comments if possible? And welcome. Thumbs up, smiley face, or thumbs down. And we'll continue. Yes, thank you, Sister Helen.
Thank you.
So, happy Tuesday, the 18th of April. We are into the spring. The flowers are blooming and it's getting a little bit warmer here in the UK. Thank you for all the comments. So today we're here with you guys again for an hour to answer any of your questions. We've got some questions left over from the last live show, so we'll be going through them initially. If you have any questions, subjects, topics, please just put them in the comments. And if you missed this show and you're watching the replay, any questions for next time, feel free to put them into the comments and we'll get to them straight away. So it looks like we have... There we go. We'll come to that one in a second. Thank you, Sister Helen, for your comment. I just want to mention and give gratitude for Sister Helen, who's been with us for a few years, who's had an amazing transformation. She was in the Matrix in the UK. She shifted her whole diet, elevated herself beyond, practiced the virtues, applied her truth, and is now creating a wonderful fruit garden in the south of Portugal. Such an incredible journey you've had, and we are blessed to be here with you. Thank you for all your application you do, and thank you for everything that you are. We've got some more people joining us now. So one of the questions we had left over from last week was, how do I apply the virtues to balance my life in a non-reactive way? Now, I'm sure most of you have heard of the virtues. If you have been with us for some time, you will know the significance and the importance carried through by bringing the virtues to your awareness and really applying them, recognizing how the mind, the ego, is working predominantly with the sins, and to really consciously shift this to just bring balance in our day-to-day life. So if we go through some of the virtues at this early stage, and they can be interpreted in many different ways. So whatever they mean to you is how you should interpret them. And then you become more and more familiar with these concepts as they help you elevate your very being. So I'll just go through them. So we have chastity, and the sin is lust. We have temperance, and the sin is gluttony. We have charity, and of course the sin is greed. We have diligence, and the sin is sloth. We have patience and wrath or anger, kindness. We have envy and humility, and the sin is pride. A lot of concepts have been brought to the modern day spiritual lifestyle to do with chastity and abstinence. And most people's focus is, abstaining from ejaculation or sex. Now, whether or not you're doing this practice, the idea of the virtues is to lead you to a space of balance and resolving conflict within. And the more you attune yourself to a virtuous life, the less demons or the less thought forms manifest within you to bring, of course, a correction to. So to abstain or have chastity is to recognize the innate animal desires that exist within the body, the man, the woman, or the programming that we've had through media, TV, and the indoctrinations of advertisements, etc. But can you remain balanced in a moment without having to attend to these desires? Can you see them for what they are? Can you recognize the desire that lies deep within this personality or this deep-rooted person that has acquired a perception over time? It is not the act or the process of doing something, but it is the thoughts that are attached to it. There is no right and there is no wrong here. But if you are in a conflict because you have created new spiritual concepts inside of you that say you should or shouldn't be doing something, now you have another perception, another thought process, another program that you have to bring balance to. Would you like to add anything to this, sister?
What we often say here with the X-Fam is applying the truth, or truths with application. So we always look for balance within everything that we do or apply. So if we look at, say, the virtue system or any system as that torus energy field here, and we look at the balance, the central point, or the die state that we talk of, the virtues is just another form of left and right, or up and down, or push and pull. However, when we look at like the AL that we spoke of last week and the EL, this is more the kind of ego side, and this is more kind of the, I'd say, like the spiritual side or the all-knowing side. So we're not trying to...
It's like untapped potential, you could say.
Yeah, so the self and the ego, I guess. So we're not trying to pull the body or the energy over to the other side. It's trying to balance that energy. So whereas we're born into a repetition brain, or an egotistical programmed matrix, so we're very much heavily on this side, which is why we all say we're like the alpha or the male energy. When we say the female, it's all like a masculine energy. And when we adopt the feminine energy, that's when we can bring our self back into balance. So we're trying to work with the virtues to bring that balance back, because the programs that have been inserted are all of greed and gluttony and I want it all, I want it now.
Would you say it stems from self-preservation or personal preservation, from
the animalistic type program?
From the ego, for sure.
So what we try to adopt in everyday life is bringing that balance back with the virtues. So if we go to the opposite side of those sins that Josh just mentioned and work with the virtuous energy, this reciprocates and then brings us right back into the balanced state that we all are born in. And yet we have those programs inserted from either media, peers, guidance from parents, and those kind of things. So that energy is just being worked in the opposite way to try to bring that back into balance.
And it recycles, this mind or this ego or the intelligence recycles unconsciously. So it's going to continue to give you what you have fed it. Over time, it's going to shift if you shift the information or the experience is having. But what the virtues are doing is consciously recognizing the behavioral pattern of the sin and becoming aware and consciously changing the way this intelligence, this ego, is perceiving the world or the experience.
If I know I often speak of the children because we're with our little, because we homeschool our little man. So we are around him a lot, so we get to observe that energy. And if there is a feeling of fear or upset or anger or any of those feelings that arise, you see it often in the young stars, because they're not highly programmed. So if you look at when they get upset, for instance, as soon as you switch their mind over and the program doesn't think of that anymore, their feeling changes straight away. They don't hold on to anything. So they have no set program as such when they're that young. So they often respond very quickly. Whereas when we get a little bit older, we have those attachments of what we've seen. Like I know I suffered from watching my family as I grew up with quite a stubborn behaviour, wasn't it? So, so I had to kind of unpick that and really look at myself to see where I could grow from that, and not just copy what I had seen growing up all of those years, and really work with that. So, and that's what happens in relationships. The moment that I said to Josh about the virtues, we really took a step back and looked at how we could individually bring some light into that darkness, and the trauma or the programs that we faced when we were younger. We really tried to work with that energy and bring that back into balance, which worked really well.
Consciously, becoming conscious and present and recognizing these illusions that we still have within our ego, mind, or intelligence, it really takes a massive shift in the whole experience, the whole relationship to life and the world. And it goes beyond the virtues, but the virtues have so many subsections. And one question you could ask yourself is, how well have you built your temple? How well, or the ideas of what you would like to see in others, how well have you brought that to yourself? Have you made a shift that you are so trustworthy? You don't tell lies. And if you tell lies, do the lie that you have told bring an effect to you? Do you then suffer in yourself, wishing that you never told the lie and regretting the fact that you spoke in such a way because it goes against morale? Because essentially, virtues are applying and living your life to a moral code. Everyone has this innate within inside of them, So this is the early stages of really becoming to a space of enlightened, because concepts, even lying deep within the virtues, can cause some gravity to the person.
You do have to be ready for that step, because once you know, you can't unknow the truth. So you have to walk that path, and no one else can do it for you. Obviously, you can be guided and helped along the way, but you have to stand up and walk it yourself and unpick those layers of trauma. And they are quite dark times, and some of them are harder than others. But with patience, again, there's time and patience and practice. It really does work in the favor of you, even if you have to walk through that hard time. It's your greatest teacher. That true hard darkness will give you that elevation that's so high.
Patience is a real beautiful virtue, because the mind itself is always looking to interpret the next moment and then relay it to you by a commentary inside the awareness, we could say, the mind, the head. And when you take a look at patience, just simply, and you see where it's stemming from an illusion and a desire that something needs to be different. And, one of the greatest examples that everybody probably has experienced within their life is going to a supermarket. They need to be somewhere at a certain time. There's a huge queue. And now they're stood there inside their self, watching the mind ignite. And there's this internal dialogue going on. If the attention is drawn there, you just have this immense amount of suffering, which will then turn into anger. And all of this is, if you sit with yourself and you ask yourself, can you change the situation? No. You can possibly walk out and leave, but if you're not doing that, there's no way to change this.
But the energy that's attached to that, it does reciprocate. So this is the funny thing. When Josh just said that, I had a memory of just going to the supermarket the other day, and I was working on some of the kindness virtue. And what happened was I was reading through it and really getting into it. And I was in the queue waiting, and two people in front of me were actually quite busy with their shopping, and they turned around and said, "Oh, you've only got a couple of things. Would you like to go in front of me?" And because I was obviously vibing with that energy of kindness from what I was doing at that time, that energy then gets reciprocated out and comes back to you. So it does actually work hugely in your favor anyway, because if you wanted to get there faster and you were giving off that energy of kindness and love and respect and gratitude, it really does come back to you, doesn't it?
I mean, once you do it several times, you really recognize the symbiotic relationship between the energy that you are and the experience that you have.
And the speed that it happens, it is your pure magic. Your energy, once it's free flowing, it is so magical. And
you're here to overcome the virtues
and manifest. You're a manifestation of pure perfection. So
I should have said the sins, shouldn't I? You're here to overcome the sins. And the reason why you have experiences that cause tension within inside the mind, and then obviously personal identity creating these emotional instabilities, is because these are the things that must be dealt with. And once you have dealt with this emotional instability, you're ready for the internal evolution, which takes you on to the next level of your experience.
But the readiness, the part of the readiness has to be walked through yourself, because if you're not ready for this, it can cause some huge anxiety states, depressive states. So you have to be truly ready. And when some beings say, "Oh, I'm ready for this," and they go all in, it sometimes doesn't work very well, because you need to take smaller steps to initiate this. Otherwise, you do have like a huge fallback. With any spike, there's a huge crash. So it's better to kind of go with the levels that you're ready for. We never recommend going straight into any part of anything without sort of practice and taking those baby steps to ensure that you're not going to have a huge fall at the other side.
Yeah. I wrote, just before this live show, I just wrote down some personal traits which are really great. And you can ask yourself if you have come to a level of mastery with these things inside yourself. Gratitude, and the opposing factor being, lack of. Concentration is one. How long can you keep your concentration without being distracted?
I think with concentration as well, it's a part of that is listening. But when you listen, do you truly hear?
Do you stop the internal dialogue of the mind, take a breath, and focus all your intention and attention on listening and feeling that moment?
Because those things are very difficult to grasp, because there's like a superficial level of all of these virtues. I mean, you can fake being kind, you can fake being attentive or empathetic or listening.
Charity is a great one, because you can give charity, but most people want the recognition.
Yes.
So they want to give it to somebody and let them be seen. But could you give charity anonymously and walk away and still feel the very same as you do?
Yeah. And that's a huge, that has a huge impact on the self. Is like, does the ego want recognition for these virtuous acts? Is it an act? Or am I responsive and responding in a way that's actually coming from the self? So these things that Josh is going through, when you hear them or you listen to them, really take on board the inner truth that you feel, rather than the external,
the craftiness
belief
of the ego, because it's very crafty and hides in some dark nooks and crannies. And it's very important that we can reveal these things to us. Like kindness to others is an effortless act without any expectation of anyone being kind to you back. But are you kind? So we have the awareness. Are you slow and steady? Do you live life by becoming aware and then responding, or do you react in your ignorance? You have respect. Do you respect all life and everyone? Or do you have some disrespect lying deep within inside the person?
And also, does it come with a condition? Like unconditional love, respect, gratitude is again in its pure state. But if there's a condition put on it or an expectation of something in return, then again, you're looking at something that's coming from a space of not pureness, of not truth. It's coming from that space again that's held somewhere deep within that wants that recognition.
You're stirring up a spiritual part of ideologies, creating a spiritual persona. It's not bringing you any closer to liberation, but it's also feeding the ego, because as someone's attention is attuned to spirituality, they then want to embody it for recognition. And this is essentially what goes on most of the time within spiritual concept communities. Self-discipline is one. Are you self-disciplined? Do you do your due diligence in being disciplined to live the highest life and experience that you can? Empathy. Are you empathetic? Do you have empathy to all beings across the plane? But we don't create ideologies here, This is something that when one recognizes, you have the ability to transform yourself. When there's just pure empathy, discipline, respect, compassion, awareness, trust, honesty, concentration, gratitude, we have courage, we have fearlessness, purity, honor, humility, simplicity, forgiveness, tolerance, gentleness, and selflessness. Have you looked at yourself? Have you changed these aspects? And can you find these small areas that just need attunement? This is essentially what the virtues do.
They don't come from a space of, when we talk of these virtues as well, they're not from that space of, okay, let's, let someone walk all over us because we're kind and we're caring and we're empathetic. That's a hugely different aspect of someone else kind of taking advantage or knowing that you're that kind of being and then coming to you with all their problems to offload. And it's not about that level of empathy.
During this time, the situation that Michelle just spoke of, then you're in an uncomfortable position where you're letting someone dominate this energy field, this situation, this conversation, or this experience, and it's not how you wish to do it. You'll experience a demon, the demon, the removal of one. This is a thought form. Within yourself, there'll be a thought form, and you have, I don't want to do this. I shouldn't be doing this. You remain quiet, but your true expression isn't coming forward. So from the lack of true expression and your honesty, you are having thought forms create and thus living in an experience of sin and suffering. But if you can be kind in your actions and speak your truth, not only will you bring balance to this whole conversation and you're not letting energies that are negative grow, you're removing the thought form that has manifested inside of you because of your lack of proper application to yourself. To express oneself honestly, this is a Bruce Lee quote, is one of the hardest things to do. And honestly is not sitting with inside yourself, listening to this internal dialogue and not living to your true will. Because if your true will was to get up and leave, but yet somebody is keeping to conversate with you, and thus you're going to be late for the next appointment, you see how this thread just continues to lead to a deeper experience of suffering.
What that ultimately does, though, it frees the self and it frees the other being, because their energy will pick up on the energy that you're giving off, that you're not completely there with them, or you're not feeling that sort of vibe. It is a very knowing energy inside, and you can feel it. Some people more than others if they're more in tune with that, but it will set you free and the other being. So it's very important to, even if you struggle with that at first, that trauma or that darkness that lies within will be freed. And with practice, it won't happen straight away, but practice in your own ways that you feel is best for you, that you feel works for you. And really put yourself into a situation that might feel uncomfortable initially, just to try out these things, to overcome these. Because if you're not in a situation where if you're always in your comfort zone, for instance, and you've got that comfort blanket wrapped around you, you're never going to experience these things that we're here to overcome.
And comfort is doing the same thing that you have done before. Because this is where the ego sits nicely, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a very, when Josh just said doing the same thing as what you've always done before, it's kind of like a definition of, going round in that hamster wheel again.
Samsara.
It's not elevating anything. It's not helping you. It might feel like, okay, I'm comfortable with this, but that's the ego. It likes to know. It likes to plan everything that's happened before, after, during.
Pushes it to you via this dialogue. And that's when you can recognize it, because essentially we need to return to the space before the dialogue. And there was a question here that will lead us to this answer. How does one truly repent? Now, the simplicity of repenting is to repent from thought, is to let go and do not give attention to the recycling of old information from the mind, to be able to be conscious and present in this moment and respond to life instead of reacting from what it has seen, where it has been, and how it has accumulated its knowledge. You see, the mind, the ego, the intelligence is essentially artificial intelligence, and it exists as a function to keep you alive until you're conscious and present to be able to take control and change this whole space, this whole experience, and shift up a dimension. Unconsciously in ignorance, going through life without questioning, observing, experiencing is what the mind will do for you.
If we look at, do you want to write the word repent? Because it kind of answers your question in the word as well. Like pent is like tight, drawn up. That energy is like held quite tight. So to repent is to kind of like get that tightness out and release that energy. When we talk of that, it's like a very held in energy that you need to expel to get out of that.
The definition of pent is shut up, confined, or repressed.
Yeah, like a tight feeling.
So you're compressing all of these concepts, ideas, and you have to let them go. This is essentially it. Pent, you have the pentagram, you have pent and vent. It's about letting go.
And that pentagram is the 5, and that is basically what our being is based around, the perfection of our being, the 5 cycle that we spoke of in the last show. And we showed that diagram. It's the energies that's within us. So repent is to just really let go of that tightness, that held up energy, and come back to that neutral, balanced state, that homeostasis that our being craves and is born into.
There's always homeostasis in every moment until you just pick up the mind. You pick up the thought. And then you consistently give this thought or this mind word your attention. And then this attention turns into focus. Focus turns into the energy shift, the experience and the manifestation of a blocked energy center. Feelings in the stomach, chest, throat, head. This is all down to the illusions.
Pent up energy.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's just go to a few questions that we have here, because we don't want to miss anyone's questions out. Do you have them on your phone now as well?
Yeah, I did.
You find some for us.
Any thoughts on understanding and living?
Can I read it?
So, may I ask a question? Any thoughts on understanding on why the word lie or untruth is the same as lie, as in lie down?
I don't know if lie down is correct. Would you not say lay down? I'm going to lay down into a flat position. I don't know if there's any difference between English and America here. But I wouldn't give any focus or energy to the fact, of lying down being the same as a lie. It's probably just been interpreted over the word lay to something more slang over time and brought into our language. Language is incredible, but it's still a concept, and these concepts of language arise within our experience, and we can be conscious and present and observe them. And if we're conscious, present, and observing, we can see the relationship between words. We can see the relationship between the letters. We can see the relationship between the numbers, the phonics. And over time, we build our own relationship to words. This is why words have meanings. And I'm sure most of you are aware, as I shared this many times before, but meaning is in mathematics just average. So the meaning of a word is what the average perceive it to be. This is why we have dictionaries. And this is all to do with the commercial space, keeping those in the commercial areas smart enough to do the jobs, but not smart enough to be able to recognize the system that's been put in place. And if one does due diligence and application of truth and experience and relearning, you can earn L through learning and then become so aware of this very experience that through the synchronization of everything that you've embarked on brings this wealth of gnosis, and you truly understand the relationship between yourself and this world.
And if you look at I always, if I have a word that I don't necessarily understand or the meaning of something, I look at the opposing side. So we've got the lie and the truth. Mm-hmm. And again, if we're telling that lie and living that lie, then we are kind of in that sinful energetic field. And then we have the truth then that will set us free. So if we pull that lie back to the central, the neutral position, we're then looking again at balancing that energy. And maybe it's to do with balancing our energy, that okay, half of the day we need to be upright in our position of standing unconscious, and then the other half of the day we need to be in that lying down position to balance our energies of day and night. And this is very much the realm of dualistic energies. And when we come into that central heart space, into that balanced center, we then can free ourselves. So that's just another form for me and my understanding of balancing out this act of being upright and in this neutral position. So maybe that's something we can take on board with the whole dualistic energy field of standing and lying down, is that one is one way and the other's the other way, just to try and get that balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's incredible. We did have a question remaining from last week, and it was, if I consume meat, will I ever be enlightened? This is a great question, because through our journey, we tend to be crossed with so much information on, what foods are right and what foods are wrong as a holistic approach. But we must, let go of the concepts that exist out here and truly look. So if you have an idea, you've done so much research, you've come to this knowledge within you that you should be eating a certain food. Let's say you are whole food, plant-based, fruitarian-ish, in between, the raw living, slightly cooked. and you found yourself, not in good health. You found yourself deteriorating in health, which is rare, but it's possible and it does happen. Now, the concepts that you have regarding meat are held within inside the psyche or this personal identity that you have now created and shifted from previous beliefs. But if it's detrimental to your health to not do something and you are holding on to the ideas still, then these concepts are stopping you from enlightenment. And of course, consuming meat is not going to halt anyone from liberation, because liberation will take you to the space that recognizes all is but a dream, and everything within inside your experience is relative to how you perceive the world.
The same for supplementation, all of the concepts that hold beings back from full health is something that really needs to be looked into within the self, because there's beings that make themselves very sick by having a concept held so tightly that they can't do something out of their
box. The new box.
The new box that they're in, is that they actually cause a lot more harm to their being. So we had Casey from the Vegetable Police on with us, lovely man, a while back, and he's tried a few things during his time of truth responsive to his own being. So he's been a little bit sick for a while, and he's walking his own truth, which is really special to see. And he's not necessarily worried about all of the other beings saying, oh, you shouldn't do this, you should do that, because he's walking his own truth and he's applying that, and as he's learning, he's growing. And this is really important for your own being, is to not listen so much to what everyone else is doing. You're such an individual and you're on your own journey, and it really is important to know your own truth.
Listening to others and taking no steps is not going to take you anywhere but to confusion. But taking one step at a time over the course of a year is going to elevate you to so much wisdom that you're going to know. And this is a part of the journey, because most of us are seeking truth, and really when we're seeking truth, we do not know. And how are we going to know? Because if we're coming from information without experience, it's still just another belief. So what we need to try to do is find what's right for us. And when you truly look at things as they are, the animal kingdom is a lesser form of experience and a lesser form of consciousness. And people, if they are consuming meat, of course, it's better to consume the less conscious beings like the fish, the chicken, and the eggs, if you feel like you need to do such a thing for your health. But also, animals who sacrifice themselves to a higher being are going to shift their experience and be pushed forward into a totally different, elevated experience, more than likely to a man, to a human, to the next level. So these are things that we need to contemplate on and just try to do that which is best for you. Not suffer in silence because you believe that you should or shouldn't do something, because this is just stemming from the ego. And you got to liberate yourself from this torment, this suffering. Did you find any more questions for us? Are you going to read it? Or okay. How do you see it if someone says she has an issue or he has an issue? Do you see the energy threads between the issue, which mostly is a person, and myself? And do you see that I feed energy into this thread? Let's suppose I see how there is energy running from my side through the spread, and energy running from the other person's side through the threads. And how could we start to perceive this? Well, anything is possible. And it depends on your focus and intention and relationship to that which you're looking to experience. So as you build a more intellectual and experiential connection between what you're looking for. So let's see energy threads between issues and yourself. Once coming to understand the full dimension of an issue and where it stems from, you then perceive the energetic layer behind it. So then you have this relationship to an action and the energy behind it. It's kind of like the virtues, isn't it? You know, you'll be able to see the energy behind this. So of course it takes time and practice. It's just like observing somebody's facial expressions and being able to read it, because behind the facial expressions is an unconscious energy that's just manifests via these facial expressions. When one being is being unconscious, so you can tell if someone's lying or telling the truth or bored or not listening, etc. So let's suppose I see how there is energy running from my side through the spread and energy running from the other side. Through the breath and being very conscious and sensing acutely, you can channel energy from any area of the body and store it. So it would take time for you to learn the relationship between you and the energy running from one side to the other. And over time with this practice, you can absolutely send one energy from one side of the body to the other, down to the feet, store it in the heart. You can store energy anywhere within this wonderful, incredible body. If that didn't answer your question.
I also see it as, so there's an internal and external part of that question, and there's both the internal. So like Josh said, you can redirect or send the energies to different parts for healing or for benefiting you in some way. But also there's an energy that can come with an external part as well that you give off or send out and receive back. So for instance, if you have an energetic energy that is maybe of anger, and you react to that, that anger will elevate because you're feeding it almost. So if it gets no food, or it gets not really the outcome that it wants, it has to back down. So the energy is not reciprocating anymore, so it has no power. So it's kind of like a block there. So you can come at the energy of anger with that energy of kindness and love. And I know which one will always win.
Mm-hmm.
You'd always be the virtuous one rather than the victim always. So those energies can work internal to external and backwards. But when we're looking at just the internal energies, if we give ourselves that self-love, self-gratitude, because we do focus on, even when Josh was speaking through those virtues, I know myself, I was kind of envisioning the external part of my being of am I doing kindness, am I responding in this way to be grateful, but we always have to look within as well, because that's where it actually starts, is that are you giving yourself the self-care and self-love, nurturing that you need? And a lot of us forget to do that part, and therefore it becomes a little bit resentful on the outside if we're not really caring for ourselves on lots of different levels within. So that energy that's available within our body at any given moment is not the issue of our being. It's something that's outsourced from the ego.
Yeah. I mean, when one's got so much attention focused on the ego or the mind or the intelligence, which is predominantly 99% of people, 99.9% of the time, so much energy is wasted here. And this level of suffering just creates so much stress hormones within the body that this can actually cause sickness and disease itself.
If there is an issue, like we spoke of last time, it's you. So if there is any issue, it has to be looked upon to unpick that trauma or that dark area that's not resolved within. and then that energy will flow free, and you will find that liberation and that freedom through all of the energy systems, and feel, that liberation of energy.
Why do intimate relationships seem to bring out the shadow so intensely?
You can answer that one from our
not you out.
We know firsthand, because when you first start this
it's incredible
journey, it is so incredible how intense it gets. And yeah,
I think the idea of having a partner or a person to love in a relationship is really to bring out the worst and then the best in you, because over time you build up the concepts about your partner. Initially it's lovely, you put yourself out, you try to be on your best behavior, and then you start to observe things in your partner or in this relationship that you want to change. But this is coming from mind, because the mind itself has been set, and it likes or it doesn't like certain things. So when this starts to fade away, this initial honeymoon period, then the attention falls back from the other person and all the beautiful things in them to the mind, which is picking all the faults. So these faults then arise, and the fault is not with the other person. The fault is with you and the perception of the other person, or how you are perceiving things.
The judgment, there's so much judgment, isn't there, that happens.
Or how there's a desire to change the past or the future or this moment. And this is why what will be is such a beautiful saying. And when one understands or understands the depth to that saying, by then one should be liberated.
And the expectations that you hold of someone else doing something or being a certain way, it has to be let go of, otherwise the trauma will come back to you. It's not the other person that will get that.
It's how you become disappointed. The expectations of an event just lead you to disappointment.
But this is why so many relationships fail. And I'm not just speaking of husband and wife or partners in this way, but friendships, even with siblings, with children, with parents. It's just, and I know, going back to Sister Helen again, she spoke of her father, and they resolved the trauma that she had, and it was so lovely to hear that liberation was there. And it's so great to see that journey and see beings on that journey that have had that experience, that are able to overcome all of that. And it happens so much, especially on this sort of journey. I had it with my parents initially, that when you make that switch,
you kind of through your kindness and new understanding and the experience of this heightened level of seeing and feeling and being, you want to share it with the world. You want everyone else to do this. You want your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your friends, your family. And then you turn into this nagger, essentially pushing everyone away.
Yeah.
This is just a part of the process. So most people cause a separation between them, their family, their loved ones. Most people think they're strange and they've gone weird. But this is absolutely a part of the journey. So I would say, just notice these things. If you're in the early stages now where you're feeling a strong desire to share what you've learned, it's not necessarily the best thing. The best thing to do is try to recognize the desire to tell everyone else. Allow that to be brought to balance, and watch and realize every single being here, every single person has a will inside of them, which cannot be changed. It's only by themselves.
And if we look at everything, every aspect as perfect for us at that very given time, it becomes funny. So like Josh and I went through a very hard patch when we first started this journey of like virtuous living, and stripping away all the traumas that we both adopted through programs growing up. And then after that, after that really hard period of time, it's bliss. And it's so easy now, like, you know, a lot of beings can't be with each other 24/7 because it's very difficult. But now that we know this, it's very easy to be around anyone because you don't take it personally as the person. It's like, you know, even if we have quite a few comments on, you know, the social media sites that may not be in line with what we are, the message that we're giving out, but we really welcome that, you know. And a lot of beings feel
we have a great laugh
with that. Yeah, it's just
Don't
fun, and it just comes from the person, and it is a reflection of what the other being is feeling or experiencing, and it's their trauma that they're reflecting onto you. So we just have to see it as like, we're here to help if anyone needs it, and, you know, if not, then we love you anyway.
Yeah, we just want everybody to recognize that happiness is truly within yourself. Not in the chest, but it's truly within the one who perceives things. And if you're perceiving something to be negative, that can be shifted and changed just by recognizing a subtler dimension that exists other than the sinful behavior. So we're looking to repent from these ideas. We're looking to recognize these ideas. We're coming to a level of acceptance. If someone writes, I mean, 99.9% of our comments are so lovely. We've got such a wonderful group, some wonderful family. We're so grateful to have you all. But that 0.1%, we still really embrace everything that you say, and we find it sweet because we see not only the comment, but we see deep into the way that you are. We see your behavior. We see and know exactly what you're going through that creates you to comment in such a way. You know, one of the comments that we had last week is not negative in any way, shape, or form, really. We were just speaking on, I don't know if it was
one of the courses that we had, wasn't it?
Maybe the courses, and someone said not if they're charging or anything like this, you know, or for information, etc. That we're here, open. We've been sharing on YouTube for a long time now, giving you some of the most incredible revelations that we found, and we want you to be happy. And through the concept of spirituality, we build up an idea that, you know, I had this very strong, didn't I? That we shouldn't be associated with money. Money is the root of all evil. Actually, money is just the form of energy, you know, and it's only right that there's an exchange of energy wherever you go in the world. And money can be used as a great tool for good. So someone who's perceiving money to be in such a negative way, all they're doing is inflicting the damage within themselves because of the way they're perceiving money to be. Now, once we let go of these ideas and see things as they are, instead of distortion from the personality, it's just what it is. If you hold it in your hand and you look at it, it's quite funny because
we always laugh.
Just a piece of paper and it can do so much. But we don't want to let things affect us like this. Nobody should be affected by the concepts they have inside the mind. We have to let go. We have to strip everything away. And this comes back to the simplicity in the teachings of religion and spiritual teachings such as Freemasonry, Morals and Dogma, etc. It's effortlessness. You only find God through effortlessness. So take no effort to anything. Don't take an effort to even pick up or attend to these thoughts.
Because there's no exclusion when it comes to anything that we offer. With our experience, we're here and open to anyone contacting us, to anyone wanting to have any information. We will always answer to the best. This is why we do these Q&As, so that everyone is welcome, you know, that we share our experience with everyone. And we hope to promote this kind of openness within communities and expand it far and wide, because this is what we want to do, is bring beings together and not divide, not put us into categories like, oh, you're a vegan, you're spiritual, you eat meat, you're the, it's not categorization.
It's like wearing leather, isn't it? Or having something like this. Of course, people get so fixated on the idea of these animal products that they outlash or become unkind and act improper towards others because of the choices others have made, maybe in their ignorance, but it's just because they're at that level of consciousness and they're perceiving a certain way where it's not causing any conflict.
So
ignorance is bliss.
But this is what I come across the other day. I said, there was a saying in the UK, and it says, what you don't know won't hurt you. And when it talks of hurt, it means like sometimes the person,
it's always the person
that is feeling that offense or that comment is hurtful is really not coming from a space of, some beings want to take their journey that way, and that's absolutely fine, that's their will. And who is anyone to judge? That judgment only comes back on the self, and those who judge will be judged first. So everyone is open and has a right to do what they feel necessary, and as long as it's not causing any harm, injury or loss.
I mean, people are set to their ways. Women, men tend to treat their partners how they watch their family treat their mothers or fathers. I've been helping someone recently, just a small example here. I had a phone call, and making it quick, his partner does everything for him, cooks and cleans and makes all the food and, tries to make things very special. And when she loses her temper, then I wish I never done these things for you. I'm not going to do them again. These type of ideas. But truly that being is kind, is empathetic, is giving, is selfless, and wants to do those things. But when the reactivity happens, they resort back to a program, which is what they've seen. But they don't mean this. They're just reacting. So if we can look at this picture fully and recognize they don't mean to be doing these things, what they actually do and the actions they take is how they are and how they want to be, we can just let it go. We don't need to create any more conflict in these experiences. We can just surrender and accept. And, when you can grown up talk on a level and understand why you're doing these things, because it's an innate program, then you can truly work together through a relationship to point out together how to improve.
Because initially what's happening is that it's autopilot. So it's happening out of like an unconscious place. It's not that being coming from that heart space. It's something that's like automatic. So something will happen to trigger a response, and then that response will be an automatic response, which is why it's very easy to read someone's body language or person by the way that they respond, because it's like an automatic program that the being goes into, and it goes back to that,
just into the person and you lose it. You lost consciousness. Essentially, you've lost consciousness and your attention has gone to this white noise that the mind's throwing out. This shouldn't be happening to me. How dare she talk to me? I told her if she does this again, I'm leaving. Now you've put yourself in a predicament with a contract that you either do something that you did when you didn't mean it because you reacted and said these words that you didn't mean because you love that person, and vice versa. And
then the other beings therefore standing back, that the energy that's happening is just going to be like this constantly until something happens to break it. Someone walks away, and then what happens is that
they get to make up.
Then,
and the ego loves that.
Then all of the stress has to happen first, though, of that energy. And it's like, the energies are constantly like this. And if the balance comes apparent and you can speak about it and come to the agreement of, maybe that there's not going to be an agreement now, and it might still be different opinions, but at the same time, you're both coming from a space of love. So why does it have to become hateful?
It's like someone in a relationship. We had it for many years with people. My husband wants to eat meat and I don't. What do I do?
Let him eat meat.
You don't do anything.
Be peaceful.
Because truly the story is, he watches you. He sees the skin change. He sees the energy shift. He sees the balance. He becomes interested. But his ego in the beginning stages doesn't want to make a change because he hasn't made that change himself. You have to give the empowerment to them and recognize that when someone is ready to change, because they see the opportunity there, and they'll then take that opportunity, apply it, and change.
But no amount of force will make it happen.
No.
So, if there's a powerful energy that you're giving off, like, oh, they shouldn't be doing this, and this is the judgment again that needs to really, you need to take that aspect away from the self, is that, that judgment of someone else doing something that you may not respond to, even if it's in the same house, that has to eventually stop with your being. Otherwise, you're going to cause yourself so much trauma.
The greatest thing you can do to the world and everyone in it is elevate yourself to a space of non-reactivity.
Just be it. Be what you know is right and truthful, and walk your own truth. Apply your own truth.
Don't hand anyone the power to affect you, because essentially that's all you're doing. You're giving someone this power to cause all this instability within you, and you emote all these feelings of uncomfortable nature and suffering.
And then what else happens is that all of that energy around you, it goes on to children or siblings, whoever else is in that same energy field. It's not nice to be around. It's not a balanced state for you or for anyone else.
It's not attractive.
Needs to be, no.
It's not attractive.
It's not a nice place.
Which leads us to this question from Gail, or a statement: how joyful to be angry is a loss of consciousness momentarily, so we can recover and ask for forgiveness or understanding. So, if you have lost consciousness and your presence, and you did react, then of course during this journey the mind will say to you that you are not enlightened, you're never going to be. Have you ruined your enlightenment? And the answer is, let go of it all, because in your letting go of everything, you are evolving and becoming enlightened, because all of these concepts the mind is doing is just reiterating the program that you have given it to do with your spirituality. And questions arise so much around spirituality because people want to know the truth now, but the truth is only now.
But what I will say, which is quite funny, is that if you do fail your tests, you'll be tested again very soon.
Yeah.
So you have another opportunity
and
to...
If you continue to fail, there's this huge whirlwind of suffering that comes with it. So, this is why it's just so good to let go of your concepts. And essentially the greatest teaching that can ever be given to anyone, and use an example, is that wonderful immaculate conception. To be immaculate is clean. Concepts or ideas, you must clean yourself of concepts and ideas. The mind is going to continue to throw them at you. So how do we clean it? Virtues is one step, but then you must let go of all concepts. And how you do that is by remaining the same as you were before the ideas arise and observing them. Not reacting, but observing, seeing what the mind does. You are not the mind. You have the ability to abstain from the thoughts that it's creating and pushing to you. And through that shift of attention from mind, persona, ego, you can bring it and direct it to this present moment. And you can fully observe things. This is a pen to the mind. But without the dialogue, just observing it, it has a shape, a texture, a scent, colors. They can be enjoyed. But if it's just a pen to the mind, it has no significance or value, because it just is that. And it's the same with your partner, your family, your children. If you talk to your children through the mind, it's just going to repeat the cycles. You want the children to change. You want to be interactive. You may sit there in your evening contemplations or your quiet time, and realize, I shouldn't have spoke like that, I shouldn't speak like this. But to go to your child and apologize, and to let them see the fact that you're sorry and you're making a difference and making a change, is going to bring that depth into them, and they'll recognize what they do and then learn how to apologize.
It's a lot easier with the children because, like we said earlier, they haven't had all of those programs. But to, sit down with a partner, or, even a parent that may be of the older age, it is quite a difficult thing to do. But, just to listen, sit there and listen to them without talking at them or telling them something that that they might not know, and just really want to be around them and embrace them, will make them feel so much more comfortable, and their energy will be relaxed, and you'll have such a better time if you can just stay silent and balanced and really hear what they're saying and take on board that they have that love for you, that unconditional love for you deep down, but it's hidden underneath layers of frustration and maybe anger around a situation that they're not happy with. So
engagement is so beautiful with children. You observe children playing on their own. Sweet. It's very beautiful to see. And you bring an adult into play, the adult's distracted and not really engaging with the children. The child is there continually trying to grab attention. So then the child might elevate itself for more attention. But if you engage fully, there's so much happiness in that child. So intrigued, so open, and ready to experience that with you. So the greatest gift we can give to anyone is our time and attention. And when you do that, you also silence the mind. It's just like painting a beautiful masterpiece, playing a wonderful song, getting lost in your expression. Time stops. You don't experience time. Hours can pass. And there was no mind there. If we can take that slow and steady approach, bring ourselves to balance, be so attentive to each moment, to each experience, we dissolve the mind anyway. Instead of looking for something more, something we haven't got, why don't we recognize what we do have? Give that our attention and experience it. Just a wonderful breeze on your face. On a warm day, you can really, truly embrace that warm, cool air. Sense it, feel it, have gratitude. And you haven't been relayed anything by the mind. You see that as you start to do these things, you start to have gratitude for everything. And gratitude just brings you so close to that enlightened state, because you're recognizing the purpose for everything and the purpose for truly experiencing. And this is why biblical text, I think 20 to 30 times, it says that God is not a respecter of persons. And this is profound if one can see the depth of it. Respector, spect is light, is the spectrum, but also it's the sine wave of light from the ether, seeing physical, SPECT. God will never see through the eyes of your persona, of your mask, of your ego, of the intelligence. Just won't happen. But beyond that, before that, there's an observer watching all of this take place. Essentially, you are the awareness which all things arise within. If you can let go of your concepts and just watch without any of this dialogue, you're seeing from the eyes of the creator, yourself, the self.
We have to remember that the hardest things, the deepest, darkest areas, are the things that are going to set us free, because there's no aspect of anything that's hidden, needs to be brought out to the light. And then once you've recovered that and put your truth to that and put it to bed, then we can move on. Forget all of the programs that have been inserted. That's not the true you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all stuff that's been learned, automatic programs that have been inserted, which need to be put aside, free from that.
Give yourself the fluid nature to be so malleable with the moment that in this moment I choose to eat this. Not I am a fruitarian, I must eat this
program.
If I eat this vegetable, I then suffer mentally and possibly physically from these concepts. But here and now, what will I choose to eat? You can leave all of the excess baggage that the mind wants to carry about this box that you've put yourself in. I must be this, I must do that. And that presence will take you exactly where you need to be by making conscious decisions and responding to life instead of reacting. In my experience, I've always been let down by man. I almost want to say I put the same loving longing into the divine marriage, if you will, stillness. I mean, through the experience, the mind picks up these concepts and expectations of man to then be let down by man. Obviously, you've evolved past these experiences now, and for these experiences to end, maybe your experience is to let go of expectations to take you to the higher spectrum. So if we didn't have an expectation and we just take people as they are in this moment without expectations, we cannot be disappointed. We cannot be let down. There's just a little acute shift.
And also, to be let down, we often have to see ourselves as being up in the first place. So, if we're right in that center, in that heart space, we can't ever be let down or have that feeling of being let down, because it's just an emotional state again, and you're putting an expectation on a situation to be able to be let down. Because if we're in a neutral, balanced state already, there is no up or down, left or right. It's just we are there.
And that being was as they were and as they are. And of course, the mind will want to correct. It will want to create desires. It will want to create beliefs. But we're truly looking for something more than what we're experiencing through the mind. It must be let go of. It doesn't mean you're going to die. It doesn't mean any of these things. It actually means you're going to have everlasting life, because you're going to recognize your true source. And your true source is the awareness which this dream and experience you're having is arising within. There is no such thing as a physical death. It's just a concept, just as this experience is. Right, we'll probably wrap it up now so we don't give people too much to watch, so we can keep it short and sweet for everyone.
But we can go over the questions, and if there's any that we've missed, we can bring them up on the next show.
Just so grateful for everyone attending and being with us today. And if there's any burning questions, please fire them in the comments now. Or if we have missed a question that you have wrote, just rewrite it and we'll check it now. But we'll wrap it up with the virtues is such a wonderful practice. So try to give your attention and recognize the traits that you have built up over time. And give your attention and time to work on some of these wonderful things.
It's not about forcing, so really try to avoid forcing the being to be virtuous. It's about just pulling away from that sinful behavior that we've been programmed with and creating that balance within and without.
All of this has to be done effortlessly. So recognition or recognition is the best thing that we can do. Just spot these small things. And as we spot them, there's a natural course to correction that will just happen by our awareness. So we really don't need to give too much energy to this. We just have to spot these small kinks in the chain of our being. Someone else, right? So yeah, we're in the process of creating or expanding on the virtue course that we've already created, and that will be coming soon. So if anybody's looking to delve deep into the virtues, we do have lots of videos on YouTube regarding them individually that we did maybe 2 years ago with Sister Eloise. And feel free to come and investigate the course that we have and the new one that we'll be creating alongside of that for a more in-depth experience and knowledge on how to apply these things yourself. But we're so grateful. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much for your time and energy, and each and every one that is here that is vibrating with this information. You can forget all the concepts in the world, all the lies, all the disinformation. Focus on yourself, because you truly are the greatest gift to this world when you're present. So unbox the concepts, free yourself from this wrapped up ideology, concept, belief, persona that you have. Observe life as it is. Rid yourself of illusion and bask in the glory of God. This is now. This is peace. This is perpetual happiness.
Unblock that energy and let it free flow. That's what we want to experience.
So don't pick up the mind. Live in a constant practice of recognizing the mind, watching it, keeping a subtle distance, and then as it tries to grab the attention, stay distant. And through that practice, you will become so non-reactive that life will just become effortless and a joyful experience for you and everyone that is in your field. Stay present. We love you so very much.
Love you all.
We look forward to doing this again in 2 weeks' time. And then we have our Q&A this Sunday. So if you wish to join us there, please visit expamunity.com. We have wonderful courses there. You can, of course, support us on our journey as we help others heal from many different ailments, whether it's mind, body, or looking to connect with the spirit. We have wonderful courses like the posture course, which helps align a imbalanced physique that causes so much expressions of pain through our muscular skeletal system. That is just a simple fix. And of course, our latest fitness program that we have, where you can find a fitness course that is suitable to you for our expert knowledge on the human body and how to lose weight, how to create muscle, or any type of physical goals that you have.
And we also offer the chance to do one-to-one if you need that as well.
Mm-hmm.
We can book in a Zoom call with both Josh and I, or one of us, if you prefer. And some beings like to just have that one-to-one time, which is also something that we can work out as well.
Maybe you and your husband, or your husband might not listen to you about any of this knowledge that we shared, and you just like them to, maybe get some words of wisdom to help them align with your truth. But we're here, we're open to anything, and we can help support you on your journey. And that's what we want to be here to do. We wish to point the way to the simplest path of least resistance to your happiness and your joy and your balance. So take care, everyone. We love you so much. Have a wonderful, strong, and until next time, be the best version of yourself and walk in the righteous path of the right choices. Infinite love and light. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.